Just roll the intro clip. Today on Readus Reviews, I review the first volume of the graphic novel collection of Aspen Comics' 4 Points, entitled The Horsemen. Now, this graphic novel is an exclusive graphic novel provided by Comic Bento, which is a comic book / graphic novel service that sends a box of 4 graphic novels to your door every month with a different theme. I got this graphic novel in the April box, in which case the theme was the 4 elements. And the reason why I'm reviewing this graphic novel is because you readers engaged in a poll that I posted on Twitter, in which I asked you which of the 4 graphic novels that came in Comic Bento's April box you wanted me to review. And the popular vote was the 4 Points, The Horsemen. So no, this isn't a sponsored video. No, Comic Bento isn't paying me to advertise their product. But at the same time, I really do enjoy their product, and it has done a good job introducing me to other comic book companies outside of Valiant, DC, and Marvel Comics. So with that being said, here's my review of Volume 1 of the 4 Points. Basically, the story is this. Gia Sorrentino, daughter of a couple of billionaires and Jean Grey level psychic, has just inherited everything that her parents owned after they tragically passed away. One of these things just so happens to be the shield-esque like fortress called the 4 Points, which is basically in charge of keeping track of paranormal activity and supernatural activity throughout the world. And at the time of her inheritance, one of these supernatural / paranormal entities starts to occur. And it starts to occur in the form of the 4 Horsemen. So in order to combat this, Gia goes around the world finding other women who have extraordinary abilities just like her, more specifically rooted within the elements, in order to fight the 4 Horsemen and to save the world. So let's get down to the plot. Plot-wise, it's generic. It's definitely something that we've seen time and time again, either in graphic novels and actual novels on TV or in movies. And honestly, there's not that much originality to bring to it in order for it to pop out because the fact it's so generic. You have Gia, who's like the Charles Xavier type leader, the character of Aspen from the late Michael Turner's Fathom, a chick who can command and create fire, and a chick who has control over the wind. If I were to have a favorite one, however, it would have to be Aura, the chick who can create and control fire. She kind of reminds me of the Yellow Ranger from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. She has knowledge of how the world works, but not necessarily enough because she's been isolated for so long. But she's not afraid to get up and go explore it. But just to be real with you readers, the main characters are all that kept me going through this entire thing from beginning to end. Because now it's time to talk about the story. And here's my opinion about this story. Now readers, you might think that I'm exaggerating, but here's exactly why this story sucks. It has nothing to do with what I said about the plot before, i.e. it's something that we've seen before in every other iteration of fucking media. But it's the fact that they don't explain damn near anything in this book. The moment Gia inherits the 4 Points, she gets a tour of the place and is made aware that there is a great darkness coming. And then we cut to her recruiting the other 3 girls. And once everybody's together, she lets them know that the Horsemen are on Earth. And as I'm reading this, I had to go back a couple of pages to see if I missed something, because I wanted to know in the graphic novel when she knew that the Horsemen have arrived. So as I'm reading her explain the situation to the other 3 chicks, I'm over here like, oh, well, okay. I don't know, maybe she'll explain how she found out it was the Horsemen later on in down the line of the graphic novel. Nope. Seriously, you'd think that finding out that the Horsemen were on Earth wouldn't be something that the writer of this story would just skip. And then when you get to the plot twist of the graphic novel, I'm sorry, this review is full of spoilers because I give no fucks, where you find out that the 4 Horsemen's uncle arrived on Earth with them. However, he's been taking advantage of the 4 Points battling the 4 Horsemen in order to gather his strength in order for him to execute his plan. which is to basically possess the President of the United States with a demon. Eventually, the four horsemen catch on to this plan and go to the 4 points for help, revealing to them that the uncle was the ultimate big bad all along. Now, I know what you're thinking. How did they find out that their uncle was deceiving them? Well, your guess is as good as mine, readers, because they don't explain that shit either. Seriously, War and everybody else just appear at the 4 points base, and he just explains to the chicks that their uncle has been manipulating them. He doesn't explain how he finds out this information. He doesn't explain how he knows what his ultimate scheme is. He just tells them, teleports them there because it's their uncle, they can't interfere. And they just go along their merry ways. You don't see the four horsemen again after this. So all the while I'm reading this book, knowing that this information has been kept away from me in order to get a better understanding and better enjoyment of this graphic novel, I'm just sitting at my couch like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Readers, I didn't know this was one of my pet peeves until I read that fucking story. I feel like I just read one of the half-baked ideas of a 6th grade middle schooler who won a competition in order to get their book published with somebody with actual money. Whoever gave the final approval of this book, knowing that this detailed information was left out, needs to be completely ashamed of themselves. Because how the fuck do you miss something like that? Unless you weren't even trying. And what makes matters worse is that even if this information was placed in the graphic novel, this graphic novel, it still wouldn't be anything special. It doesn't do anything different that we're used to seeing in this trope. Nor do the characters stand out in ways that are actually good. Yes, the characters have backstories, but I don't know if this is part of a larger universe or if this is just a separate individual thing. They hint that the air elemental is part of this race of people that just lived in the sky for hundreds of years. But that's about it. That's all you get. But Laron, what if it is a part of a larger universe? And you just have to read separate story arcs in order to figure out these characters and their traits and what they can do. Well, readers, I don't know about you, but as I grew up as a comic book reader, whenever I read stories set in big universes like this, whenever a comic book makes reference to something else within that same universe, there's usually an asterisk after whatever the fuck that they said. And later on in that panel, that book has an answer for the asterisk, telling you what book you should probably read in order to learn more about the event that they talked about, or the character that was referenced, or the abilities that were mentioned. Do you want to know what the 4 points the Horseman has? Not fucking asterisks! There is not a single asterisk in this graphic novel referencing other past works from Aspen Comics in order to get a full functioning understanding of what the fuck is going on in this graphic novel. Readers, the 4 points the Horseman is just disappointing. Outside of certain panels of art and the collection of alternate covers in the gallery section at the end of the book, there's nothing really to be left desired for this. The story itself was just bland, and the fact that detrimental information was left out of this story in order to explain certain things that happened within it just turned into nothing but a simple story that could have been mildly normal. So readers, if you are ever in a comic book shop and you see this, even if it's discounted, I wouldn't recommend you buy it. Whoever approved the final draft of this story is just fucking lazy. And given the fact that the writer of this story is Scott Lobdell, or however the fuck you pronounce his name, who worked on Red Hood and the Outlaws right before writing this fucker, given the fact that that story alone had controversy, there's no excuse for this bullshit. So yeah, readers, save yourself the trouble and save yourself the $12.99 this shit costs. So readers, your homework assignment for the day. What was the most unintentionally shittiest graphic novel or comic book that you've ever read? Because I don't want to know if you've read this shit or not. Whatever your answer is, write it in the comment section below. And if you want to have a say in the Comic Bento review for next month, then make sure you follow my Twitter at READUS_101 and look out for the poll. And hopefully, I won't have to review another piece of shit. Jesus. Anyways, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.